Hello and welcome to Inside Modular, the podcast of commercial modular construction brought to you by the Modular Building Institute. Today's episode is also brought to you by the Offsite Construction Expo, sponsored by the Modular Building Institute. Visit offsiteconstructionexpo.com today to join industry speakers, exhibitors, and attendees for the next virtual expo of 2020, this time aimed at the East Coast and Mid-Atlantic regions on November 18th. Now anyone can attend for only $199. Register today at offsiteconstructionexpo.com. Welcome everyone, my name is John McMullen and I'm the Marketing Director here at MBI. Today I'm joined by Kevin Reed, President and CEO of Nomodic. Kevin is here to talk about the push for affordable housing across Canada and about what's going on now that can benefit modular companies coast to coast. Kevin, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks, John. Pleasure to be here.
So tell me about yourself, Kevin. How did you get into modular construction?
Oh, I'd have to say indirectly and by accident. I guess tracing it back when I was a kid, I wanted to be one of two things. I had an indication pretty early on that it was either a chiropractic or architecture. And so I am neither, but I work very closely with architecture and design, and design has been a passion of mine for years. So part of that, part of my job, being able to work with architectural professionals and to see what they do on a daily basis is quite amazing. When I was a kid, I was in junior high and high school, and I took design studies, which exposed me to CAD and other design softwares, early editions of softwares at that time. And it ultimately ended up landing me a job at university, just part-time, while I was going to school doing AutoCAD work on product design. And I think, late 90s, early 2000s, we're talking AutoCAD like L14 or R14 Lite. So I'm dating myself, but it was always a passion of mine. And I toured a modular plant, must have been for the first time in 2010. And pretty quickly, I saw the potential. And from that day forward, I started to put a business plan together. And 2 years after that, Nomodic was born.
Very cool. Very cool. I wanted to be an astronaut when I grew up. Kind of missed the mark on that one, but maybe one day. I've been looking at your website, and there are several mentions of Nomodic's hybrid process for modular construction. What exactly does that mean?
It started off, process is one thing, but I think in the way that we're able to use a hybrid of different, call it prefabricated methodologies, we're able to use hybrid materials. So a lot of the time you'll have somebody who's a specialist with wood construction or steel construction or the two. But what we like to say is that we can take a building and mass it and then deconstruct it into the most efficient and beneficial components at each stage in each portion of that building. So whether it is, a combination of wood frame modular with, steel reinforcement, or, adding in CLT or heavy timbers or a panelized solution, it's really about being able to use different components. We don't manufacture any components ourselves. So what that allows us to do is have the flexibility to use all of them and combine it on one particular project.
I see. That makes sense. So a different question for you. As the chair of MBI's Canadian Council, you've worked a lot with MBI this year to help spearhead the industry's response to COVID-19, particularly in Western Canada. Besides that work, Nomodic has made a big business acquisition and been named one of Canada's top growing companies. Tell me about the past several months.
Well, there's a little bit to unpack there.
Sorry.
Yeah, it definitely has been an interesting period of time, particularly the last, 8-9 months. We did complete an acquisition of an industry peer. I guess what started as a conversation between competitors at that time, competitors with a healthy, respect and level of compete. It quickly became, and I think COVID probably had something to do with the fact that we were able to make probably decisions that would have been a little bit, trickier to make and taken a little bit more time. It allowed us to actually expedite the process and really sit down remotely and virtually, but to get that across the line quicker than I would have guessed it would have taken if we would have had a lot of other things, the typical travel involved in the day-to-day business. So it was a great, I guess, move for Nomodic that allowed us to build the character and leadership within our team. So, that was one part of the year that was, it was a big deal for us and for our customers and for our staff. And I guess, that definitely plays into part of, Canada's top growing companies. And, we've always tried to do what we do and with a really big focus on, and an early focus on permanent modular construction. It's been a bit of a bumpy ride in Western Canada for the last, several years with the modular industry traditionally focused on energy and resources and remote workforce. And so our focus on permanent construction and the codes that are, required to be adhered to allowed us to transfer into the more, common markets, being residential, commercial, a little bit easier. So with that focus, it just gave us a little bit of a head start in being able to make that transcendence. And at that point, allow us to grow relatively rapidly and consistently.
So what kind of projects have you been involved with this year?
This year, we've seen quite a few different types. We've recently over the summer, wrapped up a development of a boutique hotel in beautiful Tofino, British Columbia. It's called Duff and Cove. Definitely check it out. Great website. Amazing place to go on vacation if you have the opportunity. It's right cantilevered over a cliff on the coast.
Oh, nice.
Beautiful town. Earlier in the year, we did our first Shell gas station convenience store. We've done a number of supportive housing builds and projects throughout the province of British Columbia that we're very proud of. They're our fourth and fifth projects as a whole, but as I said, scattered throughout the province of BC. We've started work on what will be a shelter for women and children fleeing violence or at risk of violence.
Very good.
In Vancouver. What else have we done? We've started to design on a fisheries or a laboratory for fisheries, also on Vancouver Island, and employee housing for an international luxury hotel brand inside of one of our national parks in Canada.
So one of the big reasons I was excited to talk with you today was the recent news from the Canada Mortgage and Housing Corporation, the CMHC. As you know, they've just committed $1 billion to their Rapid Housing Initiative, which promises to get modular affordable housing installed all over Canada. What was your reaction to that news?
Oh, I think like a lot of people, I was, first of all, excited, surprised in a sense, but definitely excited by it. I know that a number of my peers in the modular industry, as well as folks from MBI, have been working diligently for a couple of years now to educate CMHC, and as well as the counterparts in the U.S. To the benefits that, and you know what, similarly, some of the nuances that come along with our methodology of building. And so that work has obviously paid off, is what I thought pretty quickly. I was very appreciative of that early work that's gone into that relationship. So excited and appreciative, really.
I know turnaround to get this funding is pretty tight, and I know you have a great team around you who've been helping with that process. But from your point of view as the CEO of Nomodic, what's it been like to navigate that process? Have you noticed any hiccups along the way or anything like that?
I'd say like all things in the modular world, this initiative is on an expedited schedule as well. We at Nomodic, we've dedicated a number of our internal resources from, personnel, marketing functions, financing, to be able to assist our clients in navigating the application process. So, this particular program is new in essence, and that comes with challenges. Obviously, CMHC is working through to get it across the line. And so one of the biggest opportunities is to deliver projects within 12 months. And that is possible, but it takes focus. And so, we understand all the different, triggers that have to be considered early and the different stakeholders that need to be engaged, and making sure that we are engaging them and letting them know what those triggers are, because once you can get everybody at the table and say, we've got a couple of months to get the applications across, and after that, we've only got a couple more months
Right.
to actually get these projects built. The sooner you can get everyone to the table now, the better.
So, like I said, I know timelines are tight. What should other modular construction companies be doing right now if they haven't started on their application? Are there any prerequisites they need to work through? Is there anything stopping them from getting started? What's the first step?
Well, so basically the applications are open to a couple of groups. So they're open to municipal, provincial, territorial governments, along with their housing agencies. It's open to Indigenous governing bodies and organizations, as well as nonprofit organizations. So really, what our role and responsibility and way that we can help and take action is to find and reach out to these parties and let them know what we can do to assist that process, because a lot of this isn't their first and core business, right? Their business is to take care and put people in housing, but not necessarily to build it, especially in a modular sense. So what I would say is that what we need to do is we need to find out who is made up of that list, which particular parties are interested in and ready and able and have a need. And then we need to, at that point, sit down and, like I said earlier, we need to educate to the triggers. We don't have a lot of time to do it.
And you may have you may have answered my next question already, but talk to me about affordable housing in general. I've been speaking with other MBI members over the past few episodes, and affordable housing is a need that stretches from one side of North America to the other. What's the best way for the industry to make some noise and get out in front of decision makers?
I think the most impactful thing that we can do as an industry and part of a larger industry is deliver. We need to deliver on the projects that we have the opportunity to work on. We got to knock them out of the park, because I think demonstrating what it is that we can do and the value that we can bring to what there's definitely a huge unsatiated demand and a need with homelessness, at all-time highs. Mm-hmm. We need to knock it out of the park, and we need to really hit those projects that we get the opportunity to work on and show. And I think that speaks louder than anything that we can really do or say. And then once we do execute those projects, we need our partners, stakeholders that and our clients that we worked with. We need them to help us to get that message across. Because nothing says what we can do than a client testimonial.
What barriers have you seen to creating affordable housing, and what's the best way to remove those barriers?
I think maybe some, I don't know about, I'd say miscommunication, but maybe a lack of understanding. Sometimes you get, some of the communities that they don't like necessarily an affordable housing project being put up in their neighborhood. Mm-hmm. And so they put up those barriers. When really it's got to be looked at, those people, your neighbors who don't have homes, they're there anyways. They're just not in a home. They're not in a place that they can have, shelter and a meal to actually get them back on their feet again and get them in a place where they can actually, contribute to society and be good neighbors again. So, I think to look at it from, I guess a solution as opposed to just push the problem. I think that's a bit of a barrier that's been in place, but I think that there is a lot of good progress been made from what I'm seeing too. So people are starting to understand.
So I want to switch gears on you for a second. Tell me about Nomodic's recent partnerships. You've started working with two companies recently. There's Falk Built, and then there's Nexi Building Solutions. What's the goal of those partnerships?
Well, those are two companies that I'm really excited to watch and see how they're going to change the game. I'm always an advocate of innovation in any space, let alone the construction industry that we participate in. But to see the level of efficiencies and the value that's being brought through, the sustainability angle to both of those products, and to see, digitization of the building systems. So to see what they're doing through design, to be able to really leverage and improve that process, it eventually leads to, waste being removed from the system, which means better products, a better system, which will affect price and everything along the line. So working with both those companies and projects and being able to really sit alongside them as they get started out has been a pleasure.
Tell me more, and you just mentioned it. Tell me more about the advantages of removing waste from the construction cycle. Where does that waste come from, and how does that reduction benefit you and the end users?
Well, I think in let's just say the modular industry, the offsite construction industry, we pride ourselves as being greener, faster, and stronger, and we are. But that said, there's still lots of room for us to improve. And so obviously waste can show up in a variety of forms, time delays, cost overruns, excess, leftover scrap materials. So, if you improve your system and the efficiencies of your workflow, number of ways to do it. But if you remove any one of those forms of waste, there's going to be a benefit to a number of the stakeholders along that project lifecycle, but it's ultimately the owner who's going to benefit the most. And if we can make that happen, then that's going to benefit all of us. Because if the owner's benefiting, then that means that all the people along that process, all the people that are participating, from contractors to architects and engineers, designers, means that more projects can be completed, more people can be in housing, more medical facilities can be built with the same amount of dollars in less time.
So I want to revisit affordable housing just for a second. With these partnerships that you're making, with the new technologies that you're bringing aboard, how does all of this come together for the benefit of affordable housing?
That's a good question. Again, I think when affordable, supportive, there's a variety and kind of a continuum of what affordable housing is. There's a number of different types and definitions, and I think that back to the point of improving efficiencies by removing waste. When you're talking about someone in the worst case being homeless, time does absolutely matter. Every single night that someone has to go to sleep on the streets or in something that's other than a safe shelter and home, time matters. And so for these innovative, whether it's a building material and system like Nexi, or a system like Falk built with their interiors, the combination of those two, if you have two efficient products or systems, the combined value that you can get through an integrated approach will just leverage those efficiencies, and ultimately, and as it applies to affordable housing, it's just getting more people off the streets and into a safe place to live quicker.
Gotcha. What does 2021 look like for you?
2021, it looks like it's looking, I think, a little bit better than this year.
Well, everything would have to.
So I'll start with that, John. It's looking positive, I think, for our industry with this announcement from CNHC, with the attention that's being placed on social need, with the attention that's being placed on sustainability and just less waste, building better, and what that actually means to the planet, right? So getting more people in housing, ability to have people, treated quicker for medical incidents that happen. COVID is a great example of at the beginning overburdening the healthcare system. I see a lot of positive momentum that's come out of a really tough situation. So for 2021, I think for us in the industry and generally for the world here, I see it as being a positive step forward from this year.
Well, that's great. That's great. Thanks so much, Kevin. I know things are moving quickly in Canada these days, and I really appreciate your time today.
Thanks, John. It's a pleasure. I appreciate you inviting me.
My name is John McMullen, and this has been another episode of Inside Modular, the podcast of commercial modular construction. Until next time.